We begin this twisted story of the Justice League with a man named Jor-El preparing an escape pod with his wife, Lara. She tells him that their planet, Krypton, is about to be destroyed, and he prepares to use his DNA to fertilize her egg. General Zod suddenly shoots him as he and his men enter the room. Lara begs him not to kill Jor-El, and he agrees. Jor-El blames him for their planet's situation, and he says he had to continue mining to sustain his army. Zod fertilizes the egg using his DNA, and they send the ship, which serves as an incubation pod, out of the planet as it explodes. The pod flies through space as the egg fertilizes and matures. It enters the Milky Way galaxy and crash lands on Earth as the child matures. Several military vehicles arrive at the crash site, and a man named Lex Luthor arrives. He asks for the ship's contents, and the sergeant says they found it empty. He instructs them to take the shop to Star Lab, and says the situation is code black. The men search the area for the ship's contents, and a man and his wife escape as they hold a baby. Years later, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman enter a bunker, and Trevor, a special agent, instructs them not to do anything, but they don't listen to him. They fight and defeat everyone and break into a different bunker section. The villains attack them but are eventually defeated, and Trevor and his men enter. He gets annoyed at their actions, but Superman says they did him a favor by getting rid of the terrorists and retrieving stolen files. Later, a crowd protests against the Justice League, and a reporter named Lois Lane says they are dangerous. Superman ignores what she says and turns off the holographic television. Silas Stone, a scientist, enters the building, and Superman goes to meet him. A strange beacon activates and lifts him into the air. In the Arctic, a man is taking readings from a machine when he hears a strange noise. A large robot appears from a portal and begins to pursue him as he rides away. It gets to him and attacks him as he tries to escape. That night, Dr. Palmer talks to Ryan about molecular miniaturization. He gets in his car and drives away, but the robot suddenly attacks. It jumps on his car as he tries to escape, making him drive down a hill. Palmer hides behind a tree, but his phone rings, and the robot hears it. It appears behind him and attacks him as he screams. Meanwhile, Batman talks to his best friend, Will, and his wife, Tina. Will asks Batman to help him search for Palmer, and he reluctantly agrees. Silas works on an invention and tests it with his son Victor. He tells Victor about his encounter with Superman, and a robot breaks into the building. It knocks them down as they defend themselves and destroys the building, killing them in the process. Trevor and his men arrive at the scene the following day. Superman and Wonder Woman arrive, and Superman enters. He looks around and sees Silas and Victor's skeletons. Batman talks to him through their earpieces and asks him to return because there are other dead scientists. They return to the Hall of Justice, and Batman tells them about Victor Fries and Dr. Palmer, who was killed. They realize that someone is trying to frame the Justice League because the scientists died in ways common to the League's abilities. Superman instructs Wonder Woman to get information from Trevor while he asks Batman to monitor the media. That night, Batman enters Silas' office and goes through his computer. He realizes that the scientists are under Lex Luthor and has a flashback as he stares at a picture. Batman, also known as Kurt, takes a photo with some other graduates, and Lex advises them and says they shouldn't waste their talent. Will instructs Kirk to attend the night party, and he hesitantly agrees. Kirk sleeps off in the lab, and Will and Tina wake him. They ask him to join them, but he refuses and says he is almost done with his work. Tina eventually convinces him, and they leave for the party. After the party, the trio returns to their house, and Kirk sees Will's project on nanites. He asks if Will can replicate them using biological material and passes out as he talks. In a hospital, Kirk apologizes for not telling the others that he is sick. Will goes through his research and says that the application of nanites can improve it and make it work. They leave the hospital and return to the lab where they test mice with their serum, which works. Kirk decides to inject himself with it, and they take him home. Will talks to Tina, and she says that Kirk is still unwell. He asks her if she will ever take care of him the way she takes care of Kirk, and they hear a scream from the room. Will and Tina rush into the room and find it destroyed, but they don't see Kirk. Kirk walks down an alley, and some men try to rob him. He suddenly gets stronger as his skin becomes pale, and he defeats the men. He holds a man down, grows fangs, and sucks his blood. He sees himself in a reflection and stops. Batman hears a noise from the door and leaves as the janitor steps in. The following day, Lois Lane talks to a man over the phone and asks several questions about the military's investigation. Superman floats beside her office, and she lets him enter. She asks him why he is in her office, and he tells her that Silas worked for him before he died. He informs her he wants to show her inside the Justice League Tower and offers to carry her, but she refuses and insists on driving. Superman and Lois arrive at the tower, and he shows her several items. He shows her the pod that brought him to Earth and says he doesn't know much about Krypton. The pod contains some damaged files about Krypton, and they watch as the planet explodes. They see Zod in the video, and Superman tells her Zod is his biological father. Lois thinks he is pretending to be remorseful and wants to use her to make the press like him. Superman gets offended and says he harshly serves justice because he has faced hardship. Wonder Woman enters and informs him that they have a call. Lois leaves the tower, and Superman and Wonder Woman talk to Amanda Waller, the President of the United States. Waller informs Superman and Wonder Woman that the forensics indicate that they are involved in the death of the scientists. She suggests they cooperate with the authorities, and Superman reminds her that he is talking to her. She tells him that she is trying to protect him, and he says he and the Justice League are protecting her. That night, Batman arrives at Will's house and hears Will argue with another scientist. She says the Justice League is trying to kill them, but he refuses to listen, and she storms out of the room. Batman talks to Will and asks him about Project Fair Play. He says he found an email on Silas's computer that talked about it and asks what it has to do with their current situation. Will assures Batman that everything will be alright, and he walks out. He sees Tina and promises to keep them safe as he flies away. Meanwhile, Wonder Woman enters a gym and meets Trevor. She spars with him and asks what forensics has on the Justice League. He refuses to tell her and says that Superman won't be happy if they get intimate. Wonder Woman gets upset and knocks him around as she says she doesn't belong to anyone. He apologizes as he stands and tells her that Palmer's body was found sliced in half, and they think her sword is the murder weapon. Wonder Woman stands and remembers her marriage to Orion, Darkseid's son. She talks to High Father and says she feels uneasy around Orion. He tells her not to waver and instructs her to rest. Orion appears as High Father leaves. He convinces her to follow him, and they fly around the planet. He takes her to his special spot and gives her an indestructible sword as a wedding gift. They proceed to their wedding, and after the ceremony, High Father and his men attack and kill Darkseid and his people. Orion tries to fight, but High Father kills him. Wonder Woman attacks him and is upset because he is meant to spare Orion's life. She decides to leave and uses the sword to teleport away from the planet. She slices a machine in anger as she walks away. Several reports emerge, and Lois talks about how the death of the scientists is linked to the Justice League. Superman and Wonder Woman watch the news, and Superman walks away in anger. Batman flies to Will's house and overhears several scientists talking about Project Fair Play. A robot emerges, and Batman fights it. Two other robots emerge and enter the house. They murder the scientists as Batman tries to stop them, and they kill Tina. A robot burns Will, but Superman and Wonder Woman arrive. They battle the robots, and they teleport away. Batman and the others treat Will and wonder what they'll do next. Batman tells Superman he knows someone that can help, and Superman flies into space. He enters a large spaceship owned by Lex Luthor. Lex tells Superman that Project Fair Play was designed to bring a way to kill him. He tells Superman that the files on the pod are fake and shows him how Zod forcefully fertilized Lara's egg. Superman gets angry, and Lex says he kept the information to prevent him from emulating Zod. He informs Superman to be careful because Project Fair Play worked, and they have a way to kill him. Superman flies out of the ship, and as he flies away, a robot enters and destroys it. A satellite sees what happens, and Waller and her people think Superman Superman is responsible for Lex's death. She instructs her men to evacuate Metropolis and begin Project Fair Play. Superman informs the others that someone is against them and says they'll have to find the person. The military surrounds the Justice League tower, and Trevor instructs the League to leave. Superman and Wonder Woman step out while Batman activates the building's shield. Tina suddenly walks to Batman but attacks him and knocks him down. Will's robot apprehends him while Tina goes to Will and injects him with a strange liquid. Superman talks to the soldiers and refuses to surrender. They decide to attack him, and as a laser hits him, it injures him. They continue shooting him, but Wonder Woman helps him, and they fight the army. Will walks to Batman and informs him that he used the organic nanites to heal himself. Batman asks about Tina, and Will says he killed her a year into their marriage. He tells Batman that Tina loved him and confesses that he made him a monster. He says he had a revelation after he killed her and decided to link everyone's mind together using nanites. The other robots enter the room with a nanite bomb, and Will says he needs Superman's pod to power it. Outside, Superman and Wonder Woman fight the army, but Superman is knocked down. Wonder Woman tries to protect him, and Trevor says he will kill her if she doesn't put her sword down. Lex teleports in between them and says he escaped before the robot could kill him. He informs Trevor that Will is responsible for the dead scientists, and Superman tries to break through the building's shield. Superman flies into the sky and flies back to the Earth with much force. Batman breaks free from the robot and deactivates the shield as the large robots are about to attack him. He dodges them, but they apprehend him and Superman saves him. He fights the three robots, which merge as one, and they teleport around him as they beat him. Superman sees their boom tubes and destroys them, stopping the robots from teleporting. He punches it into the ground and destroys it using lava from the Earth's core. Wonder Woman fights the robot Tina, while Batman fights Will, who uses the nanites to enhance his strength. Batman uses his stealth against Will and punches him several times. Wonder Woman stabs robot Tina and teleports her to the sun. Batman knocks down Will and tries to defuse the bomb, but cannot. Wonder Woman appears and stabs it, but the ship's core destabilizes. Superman arrives, carries it out of the planet, throws it as it explodes. Will sees the explosion and apologizes to Batman as he uses a device to turn himself to dust. Time passes, and the world takes the Justice League as heroes. Superman suggests they stop killing, and Batman considers it. Wonder Woman enters and informs them she will be living to sort out some of her past problems. She kisses Superman on the cheek, and Lex arrives. He gives Superman the original files from his ship and says it can help the Earth in good ways. He and Wonder Woman leave, and Superman and Batman prepare to start helping the world. The end. Thank you for watching. This movie is one of my personal favorites, so please let us know what you think. Be sure to check out these other videos and make sure to subscribe and tap the bell to be notified about our latest videos. See you soon.